Hi everyone, hope that you're all well. So in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about a really nice, really simple little practice called the Be Kind practice. And this practice is suitable for anyone at any age, but this video is directed towards parents in particular, but anybody, any adult, I suppose. So the first part of the practice is be. So we can ask ourselves, so how can I be? Or why should I be? So we're called human beings, but often in reality we're actually like human doings or human thinkings. So we spend our whole days kind of going, thinking, and we never really connect to this part of being. And being really is just being here in the here and now in this moment. Being here, so noticing what I can see around me, and listening to what the person is saying in front of me, feeling the cushion underneath me, noticing what I can smell, noticing what I can taste, just being here in the here and now. And we don't typically spend that much time in the here and now actually. So there's a lot of research that shows us that our minds tend to wander quite a lot. And often I call this the monkey mind. And some of the research shows us that about up to 48% of the time our minds aren't actually in the moment. So our minds are somewhere off time traveling in the past or the future or somewhere else. And often when I say this to people, they say, well, actually my mind is more, it's 90% not in the moment. So we don't know, but that, some of the research indicates that, okay? And also a lot of those thoughts tend to be negative thoughts, tend to be repetitive thoughts. So for a lot of people, we're not here, not present in our lives, not being about half of the time. And a lot of those thoughts that we're lost in are more worries or more negative thoughts and are more kind of repetitive thoughts. And what we find is that that's not really very helpful for us. And I just like you to reflect on that for yourself. So the important thing about mindfulness is I can give you these kind of ideas, but what I'd really like you to do is reflect on them for yourself and really ask yourself, well, is that actually true for me? So we're going to do a little reflection and just to see what comes up for you. So if you're okay and if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. And I just like you to reflect on your life and on your life so far. And I want you to think about all the worrying that you've done. So how much of your life have you spent worrying about what might happen in the future, about what might go wrong, maybe what might happen for your children's future, maybe imagine worst case scenarios. And I want you to really honestly answer this question. Do you think that any of that worrying has helped you in any way at all? And I want you to be really, really, really honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody this answer, but just be honest with yourself. Has the worrying helped you? And if so, how has it helped? And if it hasn't helped, how has it not helped? What impact has it had on you? On your mental health and your well-being, on your relationships, on your parenting, on your work? How much of your life have you spent worrying? Have you spent a lot of time worrying? And now reflecting on your thinking about the past, and in particular maybe thinking maybe the things that have gone wrong, or focusing on what wasn't okay, or mistakes you've made, or mistakes other people have made. So the focusing maybe on the negative things in the past. Replaying scenarios, replaying conversations, replaying mistakes, going over things in your head. I want you to ask yourself, has any of that been helpful at all? And really be honest with yourself. And if so, what parts have been helpful? And what parts have not been helpful? And how has all this kind of thinking or ruminating about the past, how has that impacted you? How has it impacted your mind and your mental health, your well-being? How has it impacted your relationships, your parenting, your work? Just be really honest with yourself about this. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So normally when I do this practice with people, and I've done this practice with thousands of people, and especially when I ask them the worry question, I haven't had one person that said that any of the worrying that they've done has helped them in any way. So most people say, now it might be different for you, but most people say, well, actually the worrying, hasn't helped me. Now there's a difference between worrying and planning. Of course we need to plan for the future, but worrying tends to have that fear emotion underneath it, and it tends to not feel very good in our bodies. We tend to feel kind of fearful and feel stressed with worry. And the same with that question about the past. And of course, some thinking about the past or reflection on our maybe mistakes or learning from the past is helpful. But what I find for most people, a lot of the thinking that we do about the past, which can be focusing on what we did wrong or what other people did wrong, or if only, or it shouldn't have happened, or why did this happen? Most people would say that hasn't helped them either. And actually that this kind of focus on worrying about the future and kind of negative things in the past and replaying things in our heads has actually caused us a lot of stress. And I know for me, in my own mind, this was the case for me. When I first started practicing meditation and mindfulness over 10 years ago now, I had a lot of worries, and I particularly focused a lot on what I had done wrong, and I was always replaying things that I felt should have went differently. And I used to think, oh, if only that didn't happen, and focusing a lot on negative things in my life. And I actually, to be honest, it kind of took over me. Like my mind was quite negative, I found. And when I started practicing mindfulness, I started realizing that I had some freedom, that I didn't have to believe all those thoughts, and actually that the past was actually over, and that I can't change the past. We can't go back even a second into the past, and nobody ever has, So really that thinking about it and worrying about it and wishing it was different doesn't help. It just makes us feel worse. It makes us feel more stressed and more unhappy. And the same with the future. When I really kind of thought about that, I realized that I can't be in the future, and nobody really knows what's going to happen in the future. So a lot of the worrying that I was doing, I realized that wasn't helping me either. And when I started practicing mindfulness, I realized that I can let go of the past and let go of the future and try and just be in this moment. And I won't always stay in the moment. My mind will come out of the moment. But when I did make that decision to be more present, or connect more to being, or be here in the here and now, and let go of the worries when they came up, and let go of those thoughts about the past, I noticed that I felt a lot better inside. I noticed that my mind was clearer and calmer, and that I felt happier. It wasn't kind of a solution to all my problems, but it did help me in a lot of ways, and it helped me enjoy my life more, and it helped me forgive myself and forgive the past and not be constantly beating myself up. And it also helped me just enjoy what was happening in this moment, rather than being always thinking about what's the next thing, or the next day off, or the next holiday. So when we practice this being part of the Be Kind practice, it helps us do that. It helps us bring our mind into the moment. And we can do this two ways. We can do it informally and formally. So formally, I'm going to show you with a really short little breathing meditation. And then I'm going to show you how to do it in an informal way as well. So one way to bring our mind into the moment, or to be, is to notice our breath, is to notice our breathing, because once we're alive, we're breathing. And when we notice our breathing, we're not in the past and we're not in the future, we're in the here and now. Now, when we begin to notice our breathing, our breath won't stay in the here and now. You can be sure your mind is going to jump, maybe 2 seconds afterwards, after noticing your breath, and it'll jump maybe into the past, or what you're going to do tomorrow, or what you're going to do later on, and that's fine. But all I want you to do is just notice that, and then bring your mind back to the breath. So your breath is like an anchor. It brings you into this moment. It brings you into the here and the now. Okay, and it's something to take the focus away from the thought. It's not trying to stop the thought. The thoughts will come. It's the nature of our mind to think, the same way as it's the nature of our heart to beat, and the nature of our lungs to breathe. But what we can do is we can choose to actually relate to our thoughts differently. So we can notice when the thoughts come up, let them go, and we let them go by bringing our focus back to the here and now. Okay, so let's give that a go. So if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes and just relax and just bring in your attention to your breath and just noticing your breathing. So just noticing what it feels like to breathe. You don't need to change your breath at all. You don't need to make it any slower or any deeper. Just notice and feel what it's like to breathe right now in this moment. What does the breath feel like in your belly, around your nose and your mouth? And also notice when you're thinking again, and that's okay if you are. You just notice that and bring your mind back to your breath. And just let it rest there with your breath for a few moments. Just being with your breathing. You're breathing in, you're breathing out. And now again, just notice when your mind moves and bring it back. Bring it back to the breath again. And we're just going to stay with the breath for a few more moments. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that's a really, really simple little breathing practice. It doesn't have to take long. You can do a minute of it. You can do 5 minutes of it. And there's lots of different meditations you can listen to online to help you. But we actually don't even have to do the closing our eyes meditation part to bring our mind into the moment or to connect to being. We can notice what's happening around us. So that's just through our senses. So even just asking ourselves, what can I see around me right now? What can I touch? What can I smell? What can I taste? What can I hear? And anytime we notice, and we might be going throughout our day, we might be cooking, going for a walk, we might be, minding the kids, whatever it is we're doing, and all of a sudden we catch our monkey mind worrying. So we're worrying about maybe something, we're worrying about the kids going back to school, or we're going over a conversation we had yesterday. Remember that we have a choice. We can choose to let that thought go and choose to come back to the moment, and we can do that just by taking a breath. A good one is to say, here as you breathe in, now as you breathe out, and just notice, what can I see around me right now? Feeling the ground underneath you, noticing the feeling in your hands, and what can you hear? Is there anything you can smell? Is there a taste in your mouth? What can you touch? And that'll bring you back into the moment. So that connects you to that being part. So the other part of the practice is kind. So the kindness part. And this kindness part is actually about being kind to you, because often we hear so much about being kind to others, but we don't hear that much about being kind to ourselves. And often we've never got that message that it's important to be kind to ourselves. But I really feel that we need to be kind to ourselves first, and then we can bring that kindness out to others. We need to look after ourselves first and just be a really good friend to ourselves. So what I'd like you to do now again is just close your eyes if you feel comfortable. And I want you just to reflect again back on your life and just notice, have you been kind to yourself? Do you even think about being kind to yourself? Right now in your life, what kind of voice do you speak to yourself with? Do you compare yourself to others? Do you put yourself down? Feeling like that you're not enough, or you should be better? Is our voice more like an inner bully than an inner friend? So just noticing that. Noticing, would you treat your best friend the way you treat yourself? Would you treat a family member that you love the way you treat yourself? And just really honestly asking yourself those questions. And also asking yourself the question, when you're not being kind to yourself, when you're being hard on yourself, when you're putting yourself down, what impact does that have on your mind, on your mental health, on your well-being? on your relationships, on your work, maybe on your parenting. You can open your eyes now. So again, in my work, something I find is that a lot of people tend to be very hard on themselves, and they're often very good at being kind to others, but often they don't realize, or they don't even think about being kind to themselves, and actually they can actually treat themselves more like maybe an inner bully than an inner friend. So they can have maybe very negative or very critical inner voice. And for me personally, that was the case. Before I started any of this practice, I had a very negative inner critic, we could call it. So I was always giving out to myself and feeling like I wasn't good enough, and feeling like I should be doing things better. And then I came across the work of Kristin Neff on self-compassion, and I realised the importance of actually being a friend to myself and being kind to myself. So one of the things we can do to help ourselves be kind to ourselves is just ask ourselves, it's a really, really simple little practice. How could I be a better friend to myself in this moment? Or would I speak to a good friend the way I'm speaking to myself right now? And if the answer is no, just change the way you're speaking to yourself and talk to yourself as if you were a really good friend. Okay, so really it's the idea of making friends with yourself. And a nice little practice is to put your hand on your heart to do this, and even just saying some phrases. So a few phrases I really like are: I'm enough, I'm doing the best I can, may I be kind to myself in this moment, may I be a friend to myself in this moment. And they're ones I use every day myself, but you can come up with any ones you like, but it can be a really nice little practice to bring into your day. So we can bring this be kind practice together by just noticing in any moment, whether we are busy with our kids or whether we're going for a walk or whether we're working, we can say, am I in this moment, or am I off time traveling? Am I gone somewhere else? If we're not in this moment, come back to being. So noticing your breath, noticing what you can see, hear, smell, touch and taste, that'll bring you back to being. And then asking yourself the question, how can I be kind? So again, saying, am I being a friend to myself right now? Am I pushing myself right now? Do I need to take a break? How am I speaking to myself right now? Am I putting myself down? Would I speak to a friend the way I'm speaking to myself right now? And if the answer to that is no, seeing, can I be kind, or can I be more caring? And it might seem strange, but as you do it, it becomes much, much easier and much, much more natural. And soon, again, this be kind practice becomes a way of being. It becomes something that we can bring in to our lives. And the more we cultivate it, the more we can embody the be kind practice. So I have little cards for teenagers called Calm cards, and this is one of the cards, the be kind. So sometimes having little reminders to help us to remember the be kind practice can be helpful. So what I often do is I have little hearts, so I carry around little wooden hearts with me to help me remind me, or even like I have like a little magnet, so you can draw on the magnet, and you can write on the magnet, be kind to yourself, and maybe put it on the fridge, or these little wooden hearts that you can hang up. So sometimes having these little reminders can be helpful. So I hope you found that practice helpful. It's a very simple little practice, but it can make a big, big difference to our lives. And just remembering in any moment that we always have the choice to be and to be kind. So I hope that was helpful, and you can have a look at some of my other videos and meditations if you'd like some more ideas around bringing mindfulness into your life and your children's life. Okay, thank you. Bye for now.